I got here like.
Won't start the webinar just
We're gonna call the Gladstone School Board meeting to order on Wednesday, June 7th at 6:03 p.m. Sam for the pledge of allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you, it's so fun.
I know, me too.
Tonight, so thank you for coming. We have a pretty good sized agenda, and I was like noticing the crowd while we're doing like the allegiance, it sounded so much better. So thanks for that. All right, first up, we are going to approve our agenda, and I do have some recommended added agenda items for tonight. We're gonna move, I'm recommending that we move item 4B, the sealed bioliteracy, to item 3B under student recognition of staff and students. Or we can move up. And then add action item 6R, which is approved contract extension for our chief financial officer, and 6S, approved contract extension for assistant superintendent. And we'll do that following an executive session. So we will have an executive session tonight. Any questions? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Motion to approve. Second. Gary.
Yes.
Tracy. Yes. Donna. Yes. And Charlie.
Yes.
And Stacy. Yes. Thank you. All right, thanks for that. All right, so first up is information from our student representative. So I heard you say Finn. What's your last name, Finn?
Brett Beal.
Brett Beal. Well, thanks for being here, Finn. We'd love to hear what's going on at the high school these
Well-
last few weeks of school.
Yeah, recently from last month, we had our Spirit Week, which is what we do every year, where it's more of like less we have like Unity Week or Homecoming Week, where it's more of a competition based week where we compete against each other for points through grade levels, like classes like freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. But Unity Week is more like trying to have the school body come together and you be positive and to just like have good culture and traditions. And so we did we had a wall, and one of the walls had a gumball machine. And the thing we would do is where we would like have people write positive things on the gumball machine, and there was a lot of participation. We had it about 3/4 full, so that was really great of people just saying positive things. We had another thing we did Mo's Head, and we had people like in C3 classes, we'd send out these papers and people would write, they would draw it with whatever they want, and they would also color it in, and then we would put it all together as like the whole school, so they could make a Mo. So that was one of our projects as well. And we had an assembly where we had games and just fun. It's a fun week. So that was one of our biggest recent, most recent things that we had as a bit.
We always like to hear a little bit about student representatives when they come here. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself and including like what year you are, and I always like to know too, kind of what's your favorite thing about Gladstone High School?
I'm a junior, and actually I'll be returning next year as our class student body president.
Hey, congratulations.
My favorite thing about Gladstone is, I guess, the personal level. I get to know all the students. I got to meet, like, I started in 8th grade, and I just got to meet like almost all the students, and it's just been great because I just get to meet so many different kinds of people and learn so many different kinds of backgrounds and stories. So I just appreciate how like it's small enough to where I can meet almost everybody and get to know people and see their faces and call them by name. So I really like that.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Well, I've known Finn since he was 5 or 6 or something. He didn't even to our school, and Finn is, you are amazing, and it's just so fun to see you grow up sometimes because it's like, oh my gosh, it's Finn. And so Finn comes from a very large family, so he's used to being around crowds. How many brothers and sisters?
6.
Maybe just because some are getting married, the pictures and keep getting.
Well, it's like 10.
Yeah, that's the same. So. And Finn, do you, after school, do you know yet? I mean, I know it's really early, or it's your junior year, but like after finishing Gladstone, have you started to think about what you wanna do? It's okay to say no, because I mean, that's for sure.
Yeah, I have a plan to think about going into the nursing field. So that's something I've been interested in, or like, either nursing or mental health.
Oh, that's amazing.
Mhm.
That's great.
Anybody else have this?
Well, nursing, what I'm leaning towards, yeah.
We know you're getting ready for finals, right,
Mhm.
next week, seniors did them today, I think, so they're.
Yeah, I had a couple of AP classes, so.
So you already had to do your final, yeah, the same with my son, so you're welcome to stay here for the rest of the meeting, but you don't have to, if you want need to go study or just go.
Yeah.
with Friends.
No one ever takes a sub on.
All right, we're moving on to recognition of students and staff, and first up, we're gonna recognize our valedictorians and salutatorians. So do we wanna have, is Kevin here?
Come on up,
Okay.
guys.
Do you guys wanna come up all together? Probably not one at a time.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, I see.
Thanks. A little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna be in the middle. It's kind of fun.
Congratulations, you guys.
Thank you.
Honor. We're really proud of you, and I think it's a treat for the board to get to have you come before us and see, your hard work pay off, as well as the hard work of our staff that supported you through your education career. We got to read a little bit about you here in your bio, but take turns, tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of what stands out to you about your time here in Gladstone and what your plans are. And then the audience can hear you too.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, say your name.
First and last name.
My name is Ben Hoffman. I went through Gladstone like from kindergarten all the way up. So it's really nice to see myself grow from a little kid all the way up. I'm sorry, what was the other question?
What was great, what stands out for you about your experience here in Gladstone, and then what your plans are for your future?
I think what stands out is kind of like what Finn said about knowing everyone at the same time, but making connections with the staff. Because I know at bigger schools, it's kind of hard because they see so many kids. I've just made connections with like my coaches and like my teachers that are still at the school. And my first grade teacher, we did our like walkthrough this year, and she's still there, and I gave her a hug. Yeah.
So.
Miss Watkins, best teacher.
Oh.
And then I'm gonna go to U of O. I'm gonna dual enroll at U of O and Lane Community College to study architecture.
And then I want to add to that, what things in school, I already know, but you can tell the audience, what things in school were you involved in, like into sports clubs, all that helped you become valedictorians and salutatorians?
I was part of NHS, and then I was part of the varsity basketball and varsity baseball teams. And I think mainly that just helped me with my time management, especially with sports.
Sorry, we just pulled a win out there.
Yeah, that was a bad game.
It was.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. All right.
Hi, I'm Asher Gonzalez. I've been here since the second grade, I think. What am I answering?
What stands out? What stands out?
Well, okay, so Ben kind of took mine.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think my favorite thing about Gladstone was getting to know all the teachers. Because I don't know, I feel like it's just nice to know them on like a more personal level, and it's definitely nice when it comes to like learning stuff, because you can go in for office hours and not feel weird about it, and it's I don't know, it's just cool having such a small community and knowing the teachers. Activities. I am in baseball and soccer and NHS. Thank you. After high school, I'm going to the University of Portland to study civil engineering.
Sweatshirt.
Right, I'm Madeline Plosky, and I've been going to Gladstone schools since about middle school. And I'd say the best thing about Gladstone schools is the small class sizes. Teachers really can, work one-on-one with you, and shout out Mr. Misley. That's why I'm here today, because he pulled me out of my freshman class and said, hey, you should take A-push next year. That's really the reason why I was able to bulk up my GPA. So big shout out.
Attaboy Misley.
Yeah.
He was the goat.
It was the best. Let's see, I used to swim for Gladstone competitively for 2 years. I dance and I was part of NHS. After high school, I'm gonna go to St. Catherine's University in Minnesota, study nursing, and then after I plan on maybe getting my nurse practitioner's, licensure in Oregon. So yeah, that's me.
So that's a long way away. Do you have family or are you just, you're that brave?
Yeah, I love it when somebody else will pay the tuition, and if that's the school, that's especially nice.
I love it.
So, yeah, but yeah.
Questions from the rest of the board?
Congratulations, all of you.
Thank you.
Did you want harder classes?
Do we want, no.
Maybe more APs.
Yeah,
but,
maybe.
Right.
More equally hard, because
Yeah.
then it would. be
Not
nice.
harder.
Gotta pad the GPA.
Did you guys take all the ones that were offered?
Yeah.
Yeah.
History and.
A-push, calculus. Chemistry,
Biology,
biology,
what else?
English.
Oh,
English
yeah, I
is an
guess
AP
it's-
technically, but it's weighted, yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Is that all?
I-
Psych isn't weighted.
No,
Psych's not.
Yeah.
Psych's not.
Well, nice
Yeah.
job, congratulations, you guys.
Thank you.
I know your families, I'm sure, are very proud of you, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the stage.
Thank you.
A week from today.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry for you.
Again, you're welcome to stay a member of our audience, but it's also, you just finished school, so you're free to go.
Yeah.
We also
We
have
have,
a baseball banquet.
baseball banquet, so
Yeah.
we are gonna go.
I gotta go take a nap.
We also have another recognition of a staff member. We want to recognize Natalie, as the board does, and she's retiring, and so we put together a little gift for you, Natalie. For all you've done and being an amazing board secretary, and I mean, even just tonight, I have to tell you, did you guys see her? She's like, okay, here's your paper, here's this, and I prepped you for this, so, and that's how she is all of the time, so. Can't thank you enough, and you would be so missed, but we know you're gonna love.
We're all a little jealous, but Natalie, thank you. You really do go above and beyond for all of us, including like stacking the chairs and all by yourself.
And
And
the food.
and the just for cleanness and sending out emails, and returning emails quickly. I mean, that's actually a huge thing. It sounds like a little thing, but it's actually a really huge thing for communication. So we all got together and got you a little something for your retirement. And I don't know, we all kind of wrote in there, but
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's been very much an honor to work with you guys. To sit here sometimes, I'm very humble. You guys are amazing.
Well, we know you've got to sit through a lot of different board members. A lot of different personalities.
same age, but when I grow up, I want to be like you. You're so calm and happy all the time. But thank you. We appreciate you.
Okay, I think we are moving, so we moved 4B up, the seal of biliteracy.
Yes,
Yes, so that's next.
that's better.
Oh, it's over here. I have three students,
Oh,
I have three students with me today. Lyric, Yuvia, and Abraham.
Please say your names again for us.
Yes. I'm Lyric. Lyric.
Lyric.
I'm Yuvia.
And I'm Abraham.
And so I will just tell you a little bit about the seal of biliteracy. Don't know how familiar you are with it, and then they will tell you about their experience and what it means to them. But so the Oregon State School Board basically created the Oregon State Seal of Biliteracy to honor other languages, students who speak other languages, and also to encourage language programs. And districts are not required to participate in this program, but Gladstone School District decided last year that we would like to participate. And so last year was our first year that we offered this, and it's basically, so students have to show proficiency in 2 or more languages, and they're actually gonna pretty soon change it to the seal of multiliteracy. So it's always, not always, but it's usually English, which is shown by either passing the test or work samples or basically graduating, because the seal, students receive the seal when they graduate. And then the second test is we offer language testing, that we purchase these tests and we offer it. And so last year was our first year, and we had 2 seniors who graduated last year who earned it. And then this year, we're gonna have 7 seniors who earned it, but 19 students together with, so this year, 17 students took it this year and passed it and banked it who are in earlier grades.
Oh.
And so when they become seniors, I basically fill out a form for the Department of Education, and they send in certificates and also like a sticker for their diploma. So it's a really, really cool thing. And we, majority of the students do it in Spanish, but we've had Russian and Japanese. And so it's really, really neat.
So just to clarify, you had 17 who passed it this year, but they don't get the seal until they graduate. It
Correct.
goes on their diploma.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have 7 seniors this year, then we have 5 for the following year, 3 in 2025 and 2 in 2026. So it's a little bit of a keeping track of everything, but that's okay. It's awesome.
That is so great.
Yeah. And so these are 11th graders who said they would love to come and talk about it a little bit. So they're here for you. Yeah.
And so you were 3 of the people who passed.
Mhm.
Oh, congratulations. That's awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us about this.
Okay, my name is Lyric Garcia, and I moved to Gladstone last year, more than halfway through my sophomore year from Franklin. And this year I joined varsity track, which was really nice. And I'm
So you hear about this program, you're like, I can get this. What are you thinking when you sign up for it?
well, I actually took the test in 8th grade and I passed for the high school credits. So this is my 2nd time taking it for the seal of literacy, and I don't know, I feel like I was really excited because I feel like I can really use my seal of literacy to like help people who don't speak English, and I can use that.
Did you ever have any, is it Spanish, the second or the first? The other language?
Yeah, I actually went through a K through 8 school in immersion. So I went from, kindergarten. I went through kindergarten knowing nothing, and then by 8th grade, I was fluent and took the stamp test.
Okay, I'm Yuvia Mayorga, and I transferred to Gladstone this year, like in the beginning of the year. And I transferred from Brex Putnam High School, and I was in the immersion program from 6th grade to 10th grade, and then I switched to Gladstone and took the test. And I'm on the dance team, and yeah.
My name is Abraham Ayala. I've been in the Gladstone like school district like my entire life. Besides freshman year, I moved to Vancouver and came back. But taking the test or going into it, I was like, I was born in a Mexican household, but my basically first language was English. I just started learning Spanish like 5th grade, when I was in elementary school. But yeah, I never felt like my Spanish capabilities were like, too high. I didn't feel like I could hold a conversation with like another like Hispanic or like couldn't translate it. So taking the test, I felt like it would like kind of give me an idea of what level my Spanish was at and like give me the idea, So I took it. I was nervous. I mean, luckily I passed, and I kind of just like boosted my confidence when I speak Spanish. I feel like I can just talk a lot more in Spanish without like really worrying too much anymore. Like before, I was nervous, like I might say a word that doesn't exist or say the wrong word. But yeah, it really helped me just like boosting my confidence and like
it's also like an achievement, like you get on your diploma. So yeah, it felt good.
Well, it'll help when eventually, whether you go on to college or, I mean, anytime you apply for a job, I mean, the fact that you're proficient, is huge to an employer. That'll give you a step above everybody else.
What are your plans for next year? So you're all graduating with the seal, this,
They're
Next
like-
year.
Next year.
oh, you're all
These
next
guys.
year.
But after that.
Do you have ideas yet for after?
I want to try to become a CNA.
Good for you.
I'm planning to go to the University of Hawaii and take more dance lessons.
Well, I still haven't like fully decided on what I want to do. One is a trade, going to be an electrician. My dad's an electrician, so kind of like following his footsteps. But at the same time, I kind of want to go to college and just get a business degree and go into real estate. So I know they're two like very distinct different things, but both of those are like what I'm reaching for or going for.
Let's go together too, because when you're selling a house, then. You contact yourself. If you practice, you know where my house is gonna be. That's exciting though. And so you transferred from Putnam. Say that was my school. Are you happy with the transfer?
Yes.
Yeah, when you were talking about being nervous for the test, I started imagining is it an oral test or is it a computerized? Yeah.
So it's on the computer and it has sections for each domain of the language. So it's reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And so they use a microphone
Kind
and
of
they
like
have
that
to.
plus?
Exactly.
Okay.
But this is one test the students want to take, and it can take between 4 to 8 hours. And we just take our time, let them do it. And then the other nice thing is that, like Abraham was saying, that if they don't, so the scores go from 1 to 9, and to be considered proficient, they have to score a 6. And if they score, they can bank their scores for the domains where they pass, and then they can take it again. So it really is, it's nice to start earlier. Like Lyric was saying, she took it in 8th grade, but you can't really apply for the seal by literacy that when you take it that early, it has to be within the high school. However, we can use it to award credits to students for foreign language, yeah. But then for the seal by literacy, you have to take it again. But so we're encouraging students to take it. We've had a couple of freshmen take it, and so they knew where they stand and they can retake it. 3 students are in the process of retaking 1 domain, and so there's going to be more who pass. And yeah.
Did all of you take Spanish at Gladstone High School?
Kind of. Me personally, I took, I think just 1 year. When I first transferred back, I was put in Spanish 3, no, 2, then 3, and then they just moved me the next year to Spanish 4. And I only took 2 trimesters of it.
So how do they place you in a Spanish class? Do they give you a test to place you at Gladstone or?
Well, for me personally, they didn't really put me through any tests. They just kind of, they're like, how confident are you in your Spanish? At the time, I wasn't too confident. So I'm like, you can just put me in 2 for now, just to get a feel for it.
And you had most of your Spanish in middle school and at Putnam, right?
Yeah.
And so
I was kindergarten to 8th grade Spanish, and then at Franklin,
you said 8th grade.
yeah, from Franklin, my freshman year, I started out in Spanish 7-8.
Well, congratulations. It's so it's such an incredibly great gift that you guys have. So just know that you can communicate with twice as many people. It's those that are.
Makes me proud our district offers the literacy seal by literacy, because I think it's amazing that you have it, and I can tell you guys are proud of it. So Petra, thank you for doing that for our students and offering that. It's wonderful.
Well, Jeremiah and I cooked it together.
Thank you, Jeremiah. All right, well, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Big state either, you're welcome, you're busy lives, get ready for those finals. Thank you. Right, I'm getting this ready, we need to within the budget. Okay. So do you have action? Sorry. All right, yeah, I'm gonna close our regular session at 6:28 p.m. Essentially, and then I'm gonna now open the budget hearing, just a few, no, thanks, sorry about that, at 6:28 p.m. All right, so requesting public input, I think to sign up, people had to submit their comments. Don't think we have any public input for the budget hearing, is that correct? Is there any? All right. We close the hearing then. At 6:20. Session at 6:29. All right, moving on to discussion reports. We welcome up Gladstone Teachers Association. I think we have co-president Serena Mullen and Tori Dowdy to report to the board.
No. T-shirt is.
You can thank Sarah Duncan. I actually was like, wait a minute. ACD, wait. Okay.
All right, welcome guys. It's
Thank you.
You about 10 minutes for this?
Yes.
10 minutes.
Yes, sure. Why not?
With a little flexibility.
Just a little, yeah.
Yeah, I brought tissues with me. My colleagues know I tend to be, wear my heart on my sleeve and pretty passionate about what we're going to be speaking about. And of course, we're always honored to speak on behalf of our colleagues. And this is a heavy topic because Serena and I live it. And we're talking about disrupted learning today. So this year has been a difficult year, and since returning from COVID, of course, it's been difficult, but we realize we've also been dealing with disrupted learning prior to COVID. And so this is really a check-in for our staff to see where we're at with it. And also hearing from parents at this point and taking into account how our parents are affected by it, as well as our students. And so we sent out a survey to our staff members to get some testimonials as well as collect some data on what's been going on, and specifically K-5. And so that's the survey that we conducted and shared with you guys. We decided not to present that in the mode on the screen, but instead we're just going to pull snippets out, and we encourage you, of course, to look at the survey on your own time and ask us any questions that you may have later or at the end of this presentation. So really, we're here to speak on behalf of K-5 teachers, parents, and our students. So Serena's going to jump in and share a little bit about.
So one of the things that was maybe unclear in the survey is when people had said NA, it means that it didn't apply to them. So if they did not see something, then we didn't obviously want them to say that they did. So NA means that they didn't see it or experience it. I think that what we got from the survey and seeing what staff see on a daily basis, and then what staff see with students and students with staff, is that we're seeing outbursts, and those outbursts are really affecting the learning environment. One of the things that Tori and I know really strongly, along with parents, is that when you feel safe, you feel that you can learn. Your whole being, your emotions, your mentality is brought down so that you can open those wide, vessels in your brain to really sit down and learn. But unfortunately, what we saw in those testimonials and in the data, it shows that that's not entirely happening every day. One of the things that Tori and I feel really strongly about is transparency. So when we were talking to parents, one of the things that I don't want anything to be hidden. So I'm just not that kind of person. Plus in my life, I just know that just never feels good. So I thought that you should know these things. I think that as a board, you should want to know that room clears are happening in the elementary.
Yes.
You should want to know that. And I think you should want to know that staff members are being hit. I think you should want to know that. Also, that children are seeing that. You should want to know that. And that children are hitting other children and hurting other children. That's something that you should know. Is it something that we feel that we can move on? Yes, because as you heard from these teenagers, Gladstone's a great place. We can be leaders. We can do this, but we can't do it unless we have the conversation, unless we're transparent, unless we really just talk about it. So that's why we're here.
So just to preface, disrupted learning, if we're going back to it, is when the learning environment is disrupted significantly enough to affect instruction. It also affects the staff member's ability to maintain a stable classroom and ensure student safety. It has a negative impact on everyone, students exhibiting the extreme behavior, the students witnessing the extreme behavior, the educators, and the families. So we're going to take some time to read just a few of the testimonials that we believe are really powerful. This is where I might get a little emotional because one of them hits pretty hard today. And the point of us pulling these is that we care so much about what we do on a daily basis. We care so much about our kids. And we're not talking about singling out any child. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about the learning environment that we want Gladstone to be known for and why we stay here as educators and why we continue to stay in the profession, because we love what we do. We just want you to help us do it and to make sure our students are being able to stand up here, like listening to Finn. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And have all of our students to have that same experience. So Serena, if you want to start off with the first one.
You got it. I spend at least half my day keeping several students in my class from becoming escalated. I've had to spend many prep times talking with parents, other staff about situations that have occurred with my students and/or planning other daily opportunities for students who are proving to be too unsafe around others in a typical daily schedule. Other students have witnessed and have now begun to follow those negative behaviors. Learning has not happened due to the fact that I am busy trying to calm an escalated child and keep others safe.
Escalated students in my class have taken up many days of academic teaching time to support other students with their academic work or being able to support other students' emotional needs. In reality, multiple students often need my time and attention simultaneously, but I end up prioritizing certain issues, often the more disruptive cases. And I know I have not had the mental space, the energy, or the memory to check back in with the other students who need me after addressing the more disruptive issues. I often have a moment of panic when I get home and realize that I didn't get back to another student and fear that a parent will feel their child is not being cared for. This has created a lot of stress for me and has taken up many outside of contract hours for me to work to problem solve. I have also had students tell me that they felt I didn't give them enough time or attention when they needed me, which is heartbreaking to hear as a teacher, especially because I know why and that it's true.
The amount of oh my gosh, sorry. You were the one that was starting to cry. I was supposed to be the strong one. Okay. The amount of screaming, shouting, chair throwing, furniture kicking that has happened in the hallways outside our room is not just close to daily, but often multiple times a day. My class has had to use alternative routes on multiple occasions. I've had to help students have been kicked by a student or hit by a chair during my prep. Many days during my lunch or prep, I've encountered escalated students and needed to find a support person to help them and/or needed to spend time making sure that they didn't leave the building or hurt other students that were in the hall. On multiple occasions during transition times, my classes walked by students shouting at, kicking, or hitting a staff member. They have gotten very used to me telling them that someone is upset and others are working to help them, but the kids are often upset by what they see and hear.
Disrupted learning has significantly impacted my classroom this year. I've had to do multiple room clears when a student was being unsafe inside the classroom. On top of this, we had multiple incidences where we had to lock our classroom door when a student is being unsafe in the hallway and trying to get into our room or making it unsafe for students to leave our classroom. Many of these incidents require us to either leave our classroom through our side door and relocate to another area, or caused us to be unable to return to class because the student was being unsafe and my students were afraid. It has not only caused loss of instruction time, but it has also impacted my students on a social emotional level.
So one of the things that we did is we asked along with these questions about testimonials and what staff and students are seeing, is that we asked for some solutions. I mean, we always come to you guys with an idea that we're not just going to say, here's the problem, but we're just going to throw out some solutions. One of the things that we want, and you all know this, is we want teachers to feel safe. We want our students to feel safe. And we want our families to feel safe. And the only way that we thought that we could go about doing this are a brainstorm of ideas. And we sent that to you, but we'd like to talk about it as well. One of which is a complete reset of behavioral management system at least in K-5 to start. That means that we have to have a clear response to student chronic misconduct. That is, and again, we love our students, but there's got to be systems. There's systems in place for a reason. We have to have a complete reset. And we know that every student deserves an education. We know that. But you have to have a clear system in place, or else you have chaos. And people don't feel safe. Recalibration of student conduct interventions, a possible position dedicated to student management to ensure adequate response time and communication. And that's for those room clears that we discussed, what you got data on, and better data tracking of our referral system, which is what we write when we have major behavior issues and follow through. And one of the things that Tori and I were talking about yesterday, we just really want to be clear about restorative justice and what that really is, because people say it, people throw it around, but we really want to be clear on that just to follow through. That's one. The second one is that we need admin in the building. They're pulled or they're not here. And we love our admin. I respect our admin.
Yes.
They are amazing people and we work together as a team, but sometimes they're pulled off site for meetings and it just makes for not a safe situation. So we need admin. And if admin can't come, then we need a substitute for admin to be there. Because in these times that we have, we need someone to be able to be there. And we need school and district leaders and board members. We always beg you guys to come and be at the school, because I think that that's where, if you're in the school for longer than a couple hours, you notice those things. If you just sit and kind of like, whoa. And it's not like we have amazing things going on at John Wetton and GCCF too. We're not talking about, I mean, what we're saying is that when you come, then you see the nuances, you see the complexity of our school. But if you just hear what's going on, then that's not the lived experience. So we beg you to come. And as we heard our students talk about, is that we need mental health and wraparound services. This is something that it was happening before COVID, but I do think that COVID brought it in more to our attention. And I know that we have an ESD advocate, but I know that we can work those wraparound services, those systems better to help our students in crisis. And lastly, you guys always hear this, is reduce class size and caseload. And that's a repetitive thing. And that's just because when you have a smaller class, then your ability to deal with those escalated children is easier. And for caseloads, it's for students who, that case managers have the ability to truly help guide their students and not be overwhelmed by a huge caseload. We realize that, we're always Tori was presented with a budget. We know about those constraints, but some of these solutions are not, it's when you're talking about an audit of the behavioral management system, that's not money. That's something that can be done. And when you're talking about really just shoring up those wraparound services, that's something that actually people are in kind of charge of now. But I think that the more we just talk about it, the more we communicate about this, the better we'll be.
We know that we are not the only district struggling with this. We are aware of it. We talk to our colleagues from across the state. They're struggling with it. We know colleagues across the nation are struggling with it. We're not pinpointing Gladstone as the only district struggling with this. What we do ask, because we are in this, is that we hear from these wonderful high schoolers. We're a small district. We have amazing teachers and professionals that are very knowledgeable. And we have a very strong relationship with our administration and a strong relationship with our school board. And we want us, with our size and with the people that we have, to be at the forefront of change and to really be the ones to examine this problem and spearhead. And so that's where we would like to go with this. We're asking for help. We're asking you to stand alongside of us and help us through this. And ultimately, a fellow educator once said, "You must support us. You must trust us. You must protect us, or else you're going to risk losing us." And so that's our presentation for tonight.
Well, Serena and Tori, nice job. Like, thank you so much. And I think that as, you know, I process it as I'm sitting here and I thought, you know, I think it was really fitting we got tonight to celebrate what Gladstone can do. And we want to celebrate, right? We want to celebrate the wins and the things that happen. And we also need to be real about the things that are hard.
Yes.
And so I appreciate how you did that and how you presented it. And I can tell from the people in the background.
Yeah.
And like you can just feel it and feel how much, and we know that about Gladstone, how much you care about our students. And you're here because you're advocating fiercely for them and for your colleagues, and for yourselves. And so thank you for doing that. So that makes you amazing educators, because that's what you're doing. So thank you. I'd like to, you know, I know we could spend a lot of time, we're not gonna solve it tonight.
No.
But I do, you know, you talked about staying alongside, and I do want our board to do that with you in our district. And so I'd like to ask Bob to give some follow-up to the board, and response from the district for this and what the plans are gonna be moving forward and how we can respond to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick clarifying question, just because, so when I love, obviously, the reset of the behavioral system. And I totally get what that, what you meant. I heard you say recalibration, positive dedication, student management, is that part of it, or is that something different? Like,
It's all, I think, part of it. I think that it's almost like what we were talking about, what Tori and I were talking about is like when businesses take over, like it's like a complete, like, let's start over. What's working, what isn't working, and what isn't. And right now, what's the system in place? What's currently happening and how we can do better.
Right.
And I think that that's all of those little bullet points are part of the same, they're under the same umbrella.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It's just like a complete audit of the system.
No, it totally makes sense. I just want to make sure, for me, I just want to make sure I'm completely understanding.
Yeah, no,
everything that I wrote down.
yeah.
And thank you both.
And can we all thank Tori because no, her last, you know, as co-president. So we thank
stepping down.
the membership very much thanks her for her time. So.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Can I ask a question? So Jonathan and Olivia have been in Gladstone their entire life, right?
Yes.
And we've been dealing with hearing room clears their entire.
Long time.
Long
Long time.
So what, in your guys' opinion, are the stumbling blocks that are making this continue to the point where you're coming to us now? What's in the way?
I'll let you answer that.
It's in the way.
There's gotta be
It's
something.
very layered.
There's so many,
It's very a layered, complicated answer to that.
it is. You know, we've been shifting as a learning community. We're shifting in what our classrooms look like. And we're also continue, so I was talking to one of my colleagues about this today, and I was getting kind of emotional about it because I had a difficult day. And you know, I came from a family of educators, and so I grew up with it. And my mom, who's a retired educator, started to come in and see my classroom, and she's like, I don't think I could do this anymore. Because I'm expected to do the same things that she was as an elementary educator, right? I'm expected to have my students meet all the learning objectives. I'm expected to have this classroom that fosters empathy and social emotional development and hit all the criteria that an educator hits. Plus, I also need to make sure that I follow any behavior plan that's written without additional support. I am expected to follow what every IEP says, sometimes without additional support. I am expected to meet all the emotional needs that my kids are not having met maybe elsewhere without additional support. And so we're being stacked on top of everything else, and we're not given anything extra. And teachers are getting to the point where they're saying, I need help. And sometimes our admin don't have enough support, or there's not enough of them to come in and support us. And so when we start to add things on top of everything else that's going on and what we're expected to do, we feel like we're just not doing enough. And the continuation of schools need to have better achievements, your test scores are too low. You know, your kids aren't reading at the levels they need. Plus you have a new curriculum. Oh, next year you also have a new curriculum. I mean, we're drowning. Honestly, we're drowning. And when you're drowning, it's not the time to teach you how to swim. So we need everybody to kind of pause, and we need to look at what's really important to this district and important to what we want to provide for our children. We need administrators to stand beside us as well and say, we hear you. We also want to work on best practices for our kids. And we're not talking about excluding any child. I will not stand for that of excluding any child. Serena will not stand for that of excluding any child.
But we need the support.
We need support.
And we need people who are specialists in psychology, you know, psychologists, behavior plan specialists, all the things that people who help in identifying as well, because right now that it's all part of the same problem. Intervening, intervention supports, all those are part of it. I could go on and on and on. I mean, it would be an hour discussion, but it's multi-layered and I have ideas.
I think to add, I mean, I think you said that really well, but from what I know too, like in addition to that, right? It's not just a few students anymore. We have more dysregulated students who are struggling. And so it's not like
it's not where you have just like the one, right?
Yeah, we have more students who
And when
are struggling to cope with their self-regulation.
Yeah, and when we do classroom placement, like we just did placements as teachers, you have to think about, okay, I'm shifting all these kids now into new classrooms, and we have to have really serious conversations about this child and this child being together, and this child, and how are those needs going to be met together? How are they going to interact together? How are we not going to dysregulate another child that's maybe teetering? So there's a lot that goes into play, and we need all those people who are specialized and are the most knowledgeable people to be involved in these conversations.
Well, I look forward to continuing this work. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you to our staff that's online tonight for supporting us. Yeah. And our parents and grandparents and colleagues. Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to public participation. Thank you. We have 3 of them, yes. And is this the order I would go in? All right, I'll invite up Serena Mott, Hudson resident. Thank you, Serena, for coming tonight.
Thank you.
And before we get started, because I would have to do this, sorry, little. The 3 reminder of our public participation guidelines, they were on the back of the agenda. I think the couple that I always want to make sure we remind folks of is that there is a time limit. I'm trying to find it now, sorry.
3 minutes.
3 minutes, yeah. Public must.
I time myself.
Well, you know, that I will stop you after the timer goes off. Not ready. And then.
It's a race.
You may offer objective criticism of school operations and programs, but the board will not hear complaints concerning specific school personnel or students. And comments of that nature will not be heard. Personal attacks on any district employee, board member, or other testifier or member of the public will not be allowed.
Okay.
Okay.
Before we start that, my school's graduation, I have to leave in 4 minutes. I have everybody's written
Well-
down and I read them, so I want you to.
I will be done. Done.
I did not hear you because I've already read them. I don't want to seem rude, but I am. Sorry, okay.
All right,
All right.
welcome, Serena. Go
Thank you.
ahead.
Good evening. I'm Serena Mott, mother of 3 kids that are learning in our district. Some tidbits about me. I've been a registered nurse for 17 years and have spent all of those years at OHSU. I'm a proud community member that has invested 17 years here, and I love living my life here in Gladstone. For me, part of being in this community is volunteering and serving. I volunteer at least once a week in the schools and more as needed. I am so thankful for this role, given our last few years of dysfunction due to the pandemic, and feel like doing this, I get a unique perspective on what is going on in our schools, and I feel connected to our students and teachers. One of the things that has become very clear to me first and foremost, we have dedicated staff. Our staff love their kiddos, and that makes me love them. That being said, I have also witnessed often or been told by classmates or my own children how much distraction and destruction is happening during our children's learning time when there is disruptive behavior by a classmate. There just simply doesn't seem to be enough staff on certain days to be able to regulate this. Our staff is being abused mentally and physically on a daily basis by some students, and they seem to not have the resources or framework to support our kiddos. I understand that this isn't a Gladstone problem. This is happening across the country. We need more resources, not less, and it seems like we might be encountering cuts for our programs in the future when it seems like our schools are barely covering the emotional and behavioral needs of students currently. I'm worried that enrollment will continue to drop as families that are able to take their children out of district. Funding will decrease, and we will likely still have the higher needs kiddos in district that need the funding the most. What do we do to help protect our students and staff? How can we retain our amazing teachers and successfully grow our great people? I honestly think that there is no one that knows the systems better to help our students than the ones that support them, our teachers. They know the policies that can help and hinder their students. We need them to show us how to change. They have big ideas. As a nurse, I know that the best new procedures are those that are brainstormed and implemented by those that are directly using them. Otherwise, they usually end up missing the mark. Ultimately, I want Gladstone to thrive. I believe we are special. We are a diamond in the rough, and without big changes for our littlest and most precious minds, we just can't continue to be that. Thank you for your time and your service.
Thank you. Invite up Michael Milch, Gladstone mayor and resident, to read his comments.
Thank you. Just in a personal sense, as grandfather to 3 people who will be graduating from Gladstone High School next week. That's 2% of the entire graduating class. I want to express just a word of gratitude. 2 of those have been in since kindergarten, and I'm very grateful for all that the district has done on behalf of them. And I want to add, after tonight, incredibly grateful that my current first grader had a year under the loving care of Tori Dowdy. She is an amazing person, and every time he's on the campus of GCCF, he wants to go see her. So that relationship continues. It will be hard to imagine a Gladstone School Board meeting without the warm smile of Natalie. It will be hard to imagine a Facebook posting without the wonderful wordsmithing of Leslie. And it will be hard to imagine Gladstone High School without that principal from Trinkets. But I also want to thank the board. I wish that Eric was here. As an elected official and as a former appointed official, It always amazes me that a community can draw people into leadership who bring such a variety of skills and interests and backgrounds and can work together so effectively to do the job. I know we have educators, we have parents, and thinking about to last month's meeting, Eric and Jeremy, you bring those skills and that background that touched on the issues that maybe some of the other board members didn't feel quite as skilled in, but you balanced out that need to what the board needed. So I'm very grateful for all of you for that. And I will miss you too, as you depart. Last weekend, I went to a Clackamas County Coordinating Committee retreat with other elected officials and county officials. And our facilitator there was a woman who works, I think, in conflict resolution for the county. She was fairly young, and I was talking to her about GCCF and when it started and the programs that we had, and she wasn't really all that familiar with it. But I know that recently, because of the building of the courthouse, some of the county health-related programs have moved into different facilities. They've kind of gotten displaced a little bit from where they were. And every time I'm at GCCF and I see the for lease signs on the LifeWorks Northwest site there, I keep wondering if maybe there's some program in the county that could really benefit the school district that could move into that space, and it might help them right now to be able to do that too. And after hearing the program tonight, I thought disrupted learning is what happens when you go on Zoom instead of having in class, and I had no idea. Well, I do, because I have a son-in-law who's a special teacher. But I'm just saying, I want to offer cooperation between the city and the county and the school district. See if we can get that space filled with somebody who can address the issues that were discussed tonight. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you. One more, but step out as you do. It's okay, Tracy. I'll talk really fast. All three. Am I actually, and I'll just sneak in. Nobody will notice me. I'm wearing black. I'll just. I'm gonna try and get through this without crying. I'll start there. Yeah, I'm gonna try and get through this without crying. Good evening, board members. I believe we've all been introduced already, but just in case, my name is Audrey Wolf, mother of soon-to-be third grader at JWE. I can't even read, my eyes are so watery. I want to start by thanking you for your service to your community and school district. We appreciate you and thank you for giving me the opportunity to address my concerns. Oh gosh, where do I start? We've heard about it tonight. Disruptive learning, or as I like to call them, outbursts that are taking place in our district. Well, let's get serious, all over the state. Being an active parent volunteer, I witnessed with my own eyes what is happening in the building, and unfortunately on a frequent basis. My daughter has been on the receiving end of these outbursts, and in her case, physically attacked. Okay. When I first learned of the situation that involved my daughter, the first situation, I should say, it wasn't a warm and fuzzy feeling, quite the opposite, as you can imagine. We all want our children to feel safe and be in a safe environment. In trying to find comfort and resolution, I also learned the issue was more widespread than just this one instance and just this one child. I've met with her teacher, and just in case you weren't already aware, we have some of the most amazing staff in our building at JWE. And hands down, I commend them for the outstanding job with everything that is being thrown at them. I've spoken with the administration, representatives from the teachers union, and even the superintendent to get a feel of how, as a parent, I can support a safe and inclusive learning environment for all parties alike and less disruptions that take away from their learning experience. I ask this on a weekly basis or even a monthly basis, how many classroom clears actually take place? How many times does the administration get called to assist with the child in the building? Again, I'm in the building at least one day a week, and there have been very few days I've been present where one of those two things hasn't happened. Various children, all grade levels. We have a huge problem, not just our district, I stress that, that if we don't try and get into a proactive stance now, it's only going to multiply and get worse. Students leaving our district, something even my family has considered, and teachers not wanting to come to work, etc. I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I certainly wouldn't show up to work knowing I could get assaulted on any given day. Prior to the pandemic, there was a news story about this very specific issue and was taking place in Oregon schools. Then insert the complexity of everyone being a distance learning environment and it taking a whole new toll. Some of our kids are really struggling with social and emotional wellness. They need our help. Our teachers need our help. I really encourage us all to have open conversation to strip away some of the red tape and hoops our teachers must jump through to get the additional support needed to help these children. Ultimately, I hope we can all grow through this and in the end support our teachers and students alike. I have said this quite a few times recently, and I hope to keep saying it. I have pride in our district. Together we can do great things.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Audrey.
All moving and comments, so thank you so much for coming tonight to speak to us, we really appreciate it. Okay, well, happy graduation. Right, we're gonna move on to our action items. Oops, you did that, Audrey, that was your timer. First action item A is to approve our minutes. So we have the minutes from the April 26th work session, our minutes from the May 3rd budget meeting, and our minutes from the May 10th regular session meeting. Do you want us to do those all together or separate? Separate, okay, first, can I get a motion to approve our May April 26th?
I will motion
Work
to
session.
approve the April 26th work session minutes.
Second. Questions or discussion about it? All right, Emily.
Donna,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Stacy left, Sharon.
Yes.
We can each brief here for that. All right, can I get a motion to approve our May 3rd budget meeting minutes?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Ally?
Stacy.
Yes.
Jeremy,
Well, staying, because I was not there.
Charlie,
Yes.
Donna.
We don't have enough. Okay. Bring that one back to our next meeting. The May 10th regular session minutes. Motion to approve those.
Motion to approve.
Do we have enough people?
Do we have a fourth?
For that May meeting? Okay, agreed. Second. All right, Natalie.
Donna.
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Charlie.
Yes.
All right.
Is Eric on?
He is not.
Okay.
He wasn't, he got it. Okay, great.
I wasn't sure. Yeah, what is that, so that we could have.
Yes. Action item B is to adopt the 2023-24 budget and appropriating funds. All right, can I get a motion to adopt the 2023 budget, 24 budget? We are,
Are we reading the whole block?
you don't have to.
Motion to.
Rachel, why don't you get up and join us? You know, there might be some questions the board has if you want to.
Budget.
Any questions or discussion about this, the budget by fund and major function? I've already gone through like the. All right, Natalie.
Stacy.
Yes.
Donna.
Yes.
Jeremy.
Perfect.
Yes.
Action item C is to approve, declare, and pose and categorize taxes for the fiscal year 2023-2024.
I'll make a motion to approve, declare, impose, and categorize taxes for the fiscal year 2023-24.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion?
We're not changing it, right? We're leaving it the same as it was before, correct?
Correct. There are no proposed changes from when the budget committee approved the budget.
The rate of 1,000 cents out. Right there, yeah. Okay, action item D, oh, sorry, Natalie.
Yes.
Donna.
Yes.
Jeremy.
Yes. Action item D, selection of official depository. Require suggest the appointment of the district's official depository, which is the bank. You have to do that.
Motion to approve the selection of official depository.
I'll second.
Questions or discussion? Natalie?
Jeremy.
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Charlie.
Yes.
Donna.
Yes.
Action item E is appoint the clerk and deputy clerk, appoint the superintendent as custodian of funds and authorize facility of signature and set borrowing limit.
You see that all in the description there.
I will make a motion to approve, easy, all that.
All that. Second. Any questions or discussion? Natalie?
Okay, Jeremy,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes. Action item F is to appoint a budget officer. Our budget officer is our chief financial officer, serves in that capacity. Can I get a motion to appoint her budget.
I will motion to appoint the budget officer.
Second.
Any questions? You can do it again.
Yes. Charlie,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Jeremy.
Yes.
Action item G is to appoint the investor of funds.
Again, it's the chief financial officer.
It says to designate individuals responsible for investing district funds for policy DFA.
Motion to approve,
appoint
the investor of funds.
Yep.
I'll second.
Just any other questions or discussion? Now,
Yes.
Stacy? Yes.
Jeremy.
No, excuse me, yes.
Sorry. Curveball.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Action item H, approve and press petty cash and change funds.
Madam Chair, there's one change this year for this area only, and that is at the Gladstone High School establishing an event cash drawer to allow for them to have their receipt drawers. And so we're formalizing that, and that's the only change proposed for this year.
Prior to that, they have to go to the bank and
Write checks for each time, yeah.
Thank you for noting that change.
Sure.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve impress petty cash and change funds.
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
Donna. Yes. Jeremy.
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Yes.
Item I is to approve our meal prices and food fees for the 2023-2024 school year.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the board, each year the district is required to go through a process of calculating the amount of meals that we've sold and how many are received through reimbursements for free and reduced lunches. We are required then to identify it through a price equity tool and calculation item provided to us by the state. And going through that process, the goal and intent is to make sure that our paid prices for meals is not supplemented by the federal reimbursement rates. And there's a cap in terms of an annual increase that can be allowed as at 10 cents per meal. Going through that calculation this year, the proposal is to increase paid meal rates by 10 cents per meal. That does not get us back into compliance, but is the maximum amount we can change per year. Those rates have been published again with lunch $2.75 for elementary, $3.05 for middle, and $3.65 for high school. And those rates are still below the federal reimbursement rate of $4.95 per meal. Additionally, the proposal includes increasing adult prices for meals for our staff members that and or community members that come in order to help offset the costs that we have been experiencing for food costs. And those would be the proposed changes for meals. Any questions you have about student and adult meal prices?
So what is listed in here is the 4.950, and those are the federal rates.
Correct.
And remember in the packet, can you remind me though what our current rate is now or moving to with the 10 cents?
$2.75 at elementary for lunch, $3.05 for middle, and $3.65 for high school meals for lunches.
So we're pretty far off.
We are, yeah, and it doesn't help that the federal reimbursement rate, while we appreciate it greatly, of course, that increases on a CPI. So this year's rate was increased by 7.4% on the consumer price index, and then adjusted by a 2% annual increase. So it went up 9.4% from last year. And so with a 10% max or 10-cent maximum, we aren't going to catch that rate. But in order to remain eligible for those reimbursements, we need to adjust our paid rate by at least the maximum, and that's the 10 cents per.
I get a motion to approve
Motion to approve meal prices
and student fees.
and the student.
I'll second.
Any further questions or discussion? Those student fees stayed relatively the same.
They did. I will point out that one of the changes that proposed is really moving the elective class supply costs to the cost only and not a preset fee for participation. And so these would be costs that are beyond the materials required to complete the core course requirements. And so working with secondary principals and our bookkeepers so that as we move forward into next year, the buildings have the appropriations they need for their supplies without having it as a fee to the students.
Yes.
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 Oh, good work, right? Did we get them all?
Almost. Jay. We're on Jay.
Yay, thank you. Okay. Designate newspaper record. All right, the Clackamas Review is our newspaper record. We are recommended for approval.
I'll make a motion that our designate newspaper record as the Clackamas Review.
Second. No. Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Jeremy?
Yes.
Yes. We got this thing. This is the one you've been telling about us too, like every time it's coming, and here it is.
Here it is. You might recall that on a monthly basis, as part of the financial report, we've discussed when we would approach the board appropriations change. And so essentially the 2022-23 budget was adopted by the board based on a series of assumptions and estimates that we knew of last spring and adopted by the board in June of 2022. And after that time, the board approved a contract labor agreements for our licensed staff and administrative staff. Oregon local budget law allows you as the governing body to authorize transfers of appropriation authority by resolution action. So tonight you're being asked to adopt the resolution that amends the budget appropriations within the general fund to account for the net impact of the costs and savings that we've been able to create over the course of the year for the labor costs that were negotiated for the 22-23 school year. The proposed budget amendment will impact appropriations only in the general fund. It reduces support services function and increases instructional services budgets in the amount of $145,500. The net impact of the change to the overall budget is zero, and it does not decrease our contingency budget for the year.
Make it a motion.
Would you recommend that we actually on this one? Actually,
The motion.
Recommendation for approval.
Sure. Motion would be great.
To read the,
Motion, no.
Yes, that includes the dollar amount as well.
okay, whereas the 2022-23 budget was adopted by the board based on estimates and assumptions made in June of 2022. And whereas Oregon local budget law allows the governing body to authorize transfers of appropriation authority by resolution action. And whereas the 2022-23 budget was adopted prior to the approval of labor agreements impacting the 2022-23 fiscal year. And whereas the board now desires to amend budget appropriations within the general fund to account for the additional negotiated labor costs for the 2022-23 budget year. And now therefore be resolved by the board of directors of the Gladstone School District number 115 to amend the 2022-23 budget through a transfer of appropriations in the general fund from support services to instruction services in the amount of $145,500 and are hereby appropriated, presented in the superintendent's June 7, 2023 report. Got my motion, yes, it was, I guess. Okay, any questions, other questions or discussion? Natalie?
Yes.
Stacy? Yes. Charlie?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Thank
so
you.
much, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you for preparing us so well. Great, Jim. Have some licensed elections.
We do,
And is he hiring?
not too busy,
Okay.
thankfully.
Yeah.
So tonight we have two probationary one teachers, both at Gladstone High School, and a temporary 1-year temporary contract for a Spanish teacher also at Gladstone High School. We have Veronica Salisbury, Benjamin Hargrave, and Henry Pop.
We have to do these individually.
No, I think we do them together. The licensed staff listed above and for hired.
I'll make a motion of the recommendations that are written. Aye.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? All right, Natalie.
Okay, Jeremy,
Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes. Thank you. All right, moving on to approving second reading and adoption of the board policies that are listed there below. That we had our first reading for the last 4 meetings. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the policy?
Motion to approve the second reading and adoption of board policy.
I'll second it.
Any questions or discussion? All right, Natalie.
Donna,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Jeremy.
Yes.
Is our action item N approved? Yeah. The corrective action plan from the 2021-2022 audit report. Yes, you are back.
Yes, I am back, and really just to answer questions the board heard
Yes.
from the audit report. And so this is the follow-up motion action that's required for us to acknowledge the corrective action plan that was described and was completed actually in May of 2022 and continues, of course, moving forward.
As it describes here, it's the remedial, this was already remedied.
Yes, in May of 2022.
You just
Yes.
need us to take official action and approving that.
Correct. The requirement is that it happen by official board action within 30 days of receiving the audit report. It just happens that the report was delayed by our audit firm. We would have been doing this back in January, February.
I get a motion to approve the corrective action plan from the 2021-22 audit report.
I'll make a motion to approve the action plan. Corrective action plan for the 2022.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion? Right now, Stacy? Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we have a dance team trip to approve, action item O. You've been waiting a while.
That's okay.
you.
That's okay. Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I know I'm like, oh, here it is, there. it is. All right, tell us about the trip you'd like to take.
Yeah,
I guess
so
if you're one member, were you here, say, she was on dance team?
was it last board meeting?
What, this one that we had a student.
Oh,
from,
no.
By literacy seal, Uvia.
Oh, you was here.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was one of my
yes.
juniors.
Yeah, so she spoke about being. on
Oh,
dance
that's
team.
great. That's great. I'm hoping to take my kids back to Thunderbird this year. Prior to COVID, we had taken our dancers for over 20 years. I went as a dancer. I've taken my kids for 10 years. It's a really big fundamental part of our season. They learn their technique, but they also get a lot of team bonding, and it really sets the tone for our whole season. We haven't had it for the last couple of years because of COVID, and it was very apparent that it was missed. So we are very excited that it's an overnight camp again. It's 4 days together. They dorm together, they eat together, they dance together from 7 a.m. till 9 at night. It's all day, every day. We're with them. It's a really, really great experience. So we're hoping to take it back this year.
And you have 9 students participating or?
For camp, yes.
Okay. So they've already kind of they've already signed up for
Yes.
this. Okay.
How many students do you have involved with the dance team?
We're still doing tryouts for this season, so I'm not sure on the numbers. Last year we had 15.
Okay.
It's ranged. We've had quite a range. We've had as many as 34, and then during our COVID season, we had 5. So it greatly varies. But we're able to do all the same things, no matter the number, which is really, really cool. Yeah.
I motion to approve the dance team.
Any other questions or discussion? I think it's also really cool to get on a college campus.
It is.
Right, in addition to the
Yes.
dance team stuff, I totally get that, but I think, it's also can be really inspiring for them to get on campus.
And they do 2 showcases in front. They have all the bleachers out and they're full, and it's a really cool experience. Yeah.
Great. Melody?
Donna,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Charlie.
Yes.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, action item P, acknowledge Riverdale Gladstone Football Co-op Agreement. So this is the co-op with Riverdale School District for their high school athletes to participate in the Gladstone High School football program. It's no net cost to the district. It doesn't change our 4A status, so it just sounds like a good thing to do to let kids play football with us.
First time we tried this.
Okay.
And both athletic director and the football coach are excited to, this opportunity brings, and there are a lot of logistical things will have to be worked through. That's the good one. A lot of enthusiasm. They've already set a date to go over and meet with Riverdale students that will have an interest in fans. Conversation about playing football, and that's what it means. So I think it's great they want to try it.
Yeah.
We'll see how this goes.
Now we need someone to help us with wrestling if we can't find a coach. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the co-op agreement with Riverdale School District.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
Question for you, Bob, Riverdale, why are they not co-oping with like Westland?
Can't. Those are already 6A schools.
Okay.
And so a school cannot co-op with a school that's already 6A, because then it just increases the enrollment. So it's part of the OSAA rules.
Okay.
So they have limited options. Because there are some schools that push that school up to the classification level. You gotta remember, we tried to co-op a school for wrestling this last year.
Yeah.
The downside to that for Putnam is it would have pushed them to 6A. And so they were not interested in that. And so they gave us another option. And I learned that they've already are starting to interview wrestling coaches for this year. So they've got that problem solved.
So the other question I had is, did Riverdale come to us or did we go to Riverdale?
I don't know. I think the athletic directors are at the same place at the same time. And they knew each other and they just started. So I don't know, my hunch would be that it probably was Riverdale coming to us because they had a greater need. We didn't have a need to bring Riverdale in.
Right.
I do know, I inquired with OSAA, just trying to learn what it was about it. The contact I had within OSAA, I sent her an email, and 5 minutes later, the executive director of OSAA was calling me back to just acknowledge there's a lot of benefit to this kind of program. OSAA really supports it because it gets more kids involved.
Fantastic.
Natalie? Stacy? Yes.
Donna,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Charlie.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Approve leave of absence. So we have one staff member requesting a leave.
So special educator at the high school, Tim Dyke, approached me a while back, wondering about this process, and I had my doubts because it can be challenging to fill the position. So I really kind of went out of the way to level set his expectations that we would tether I'm happy to make these recommendations to you, so long as we believe we can fill the position. and that our students are going to be in a good place. His request is for a 1-year leave of absence. We have interviewed, we posted that position prospectively so that we wouldn't have to hire it if we were going to say no. But we have interviewed and have found a successful candidate who's also willing to take a 1-year temporary position. She has worked in that capacity for us this year. So we have experience with this person. So nonetheless, what we're asking the board to approve is still tethered to a successful landing of that candidate.
So if the candidate it, then this goes through and this person gets their leave, and then the person changes their mind, as they can on a temporary contract.
Then we would recall them.
Okay, that's my question.
That, yes, the individual could then resign.
Okay.
And then we'd be in the same place we are
We're
today.
still in the same spot, but we can, yeah, okay.
Second.
Other questions or discussion?
What's options would be?
Option 3, well, option 2 really is to vote no. And in that case, the individual needs to make the decision they were thinking about making a year from today or a year from March 1st. They would need to decide to stay on or to resign. And then we would have a non-temporary position to post if they resigned.
Easier to fill or harder to fill than a temporary appointing position?
In this case, it's, in my opinion, in this case, one and the same, because we did prospectively post that, and we have a candidate that we're comfortable with from experience watching her teach this year. But yes, this was a tighter knife edge than we typically want. Correct.
There's a little less of them out there.
Right.
Yep.
I'm just thinking, it's hard to let somebody go, but it's hard not to let them go.
Yeah.
Right? When they want to leave of absence.
And it is hard, but it's part of taking care of our people. And so thank you for your work in finding a person, because I know. So.
We were going to be doing it one way or another.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's vote now. Pardon?
Yes.
Donna? Yes. Jeremy?
Yes.
Steve? Yes. Wait.
Tomorrow's not on the agenda because that was the act.
I know, but I have to go into executive session.
Yeah, why don't we finish superintendent's reports so people don't. do that
Okay.
in executive session.
So we're gonna move it out of order, then we'll come back to our action items.
Let's go down to.
Okay, superintendent's report.
You're back.
Back up, please.
Madam Chair, members of the board, the report you have in your packet is the end of month of May 2023. We have received all 12 of our state school fund payments in the general fund. We continue to be on track for a ending fund balance in the general fund of the 4.5 million, which is our beginning fund balance for the next year's budget. In the bullets, it talks about the board taking action on the resolution adjusting appropriations in the general fund. Thank you for that. We are through the third quarter of claims and reporting in the grant fund, and the final quarter will claiming will happen. We'll have revenues hit the budget in that fund after the close of the fiscal year, so early July. And then as we move forward, the board will hear reports on the month ending June 30 through as of early July, and then again in early August, and continue to leave the books open for 60 days after the close of the fiscal year. So June will continue to have activity. So we'll be reporting on June and then June and July, and then June and August after that. No real changes to report, and any questions that you have, I'm happy to answer. All right, thank you.
There's a few personnel items. Review resignations and hires. Just a legislative update, because there's not a lot more. Senate not meeting formally on passing any bills. I think you should see already, but the danger is that they won't pass budgets. And if they don't pass budgets, then the budget will look back to our current level of funding at 9.3 billion as opposed to the 10.2. The difference between 9.3 and 10.2 in Gladstone is probably in the neighborhood of $1.4, which would greatly expand our budget prices. The other piece of news that came out yesterday is that there was an amendment to one of the bills as it relates to the literacy initiative sale. It's got $140 million attached to it. And the amendment is that money would come from student investment account funds. So robbing that account. So we're anticipating we'll get about $1.4 million into the SIA account. If in fact they pulled $140 million out, overall $940 million that was slated to go in there, then it appears to the eyes of educators that we're going to receive about a 15% reduction in our SIA funding that we've anticipated. It's about for Gladstone something north of $200,000. And so then it just creates more uncertainty. I've communicated to our legislators what the problem is, and that I just find it really ironical that they ask school districts to go through a process locally to make sure that we include our underserved populations in our process for developing what SIA funds can be used for and should be used for in our community. And the solution of the state is to peel that right back, which flies in the face of everything we have said about what that should look like going forward. So anyway, that's the latest, and we're just gonna have to sit and wait. This is I think the whole budget question could string out for months. We're gonna approach it as if the 10.2 is going to be funded for schools because we don't have a good alternative at this point. And if it's not, then we'll have to address that in the course of the year. I can't believe we won't have state budgets approved at some point. I just think that's going to happen. So that's your legislative update. There was one bill that educators were really concerned about. It was Senate Bill 819, which would have potentially caused school districts to spend a great deal of money around special ed services for students who are on some form of abbreviated day right now. And that bill did not gain the votes out of the House that needed to move forward. So at this point, it's dead. It's not going to move forward. And there were some positive things about the bill. I think at the end of the day, I think a legislator tried to strong arm a whole lot of people. So
Is that the one they called something, and they were calling it modified day?
yeah, it's an abbreviated day.
Right. Calling it something else. I mean, it came out from the
Oh, no, I was talking about, because there was a, what's that?
It's not the, Jared was saying, no, it's not the same thing. As the
guidance that dropped like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
They were associated,
okay.
yeah.
So is that
It
same?
wasn't exactly the same thing, but
Okay,
there was, when it was when that guidance was developed, there was a strong belief that 819 was gonna pass.
Okay.
So my hunch is there'll be some rewrites of that
Okay.
before it's all over.
Okay.
So anyway, that's what's going on with the legislature. I would just recommend to you guys, contact your folks, contact your legislators, do it as individuals, don't do it as a collective group. And I had a legislator last week asked me what I thought should have happened, and I said, quite frankly, I'm not gonna pick a side. Everybody's wrong if this doesn't happen. And everybody needs to find the solution. And at the core of politics, that's what it is. It's compromise. Everybody needs to find solutions and work to find the solutions for the betterment of our communities. But I'm not gonna say the Republicans are wrong, and I'm not gonna say the Democrats are wrong. It's your job to find the solution. So that's the other message I recommend that you echo. So that's all that I have for superintendent's report.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to end or temporarily adjourn our regular session. So that we can go into executive session. Either RS 192-660A. Correct. To consider the employment of a public officer, employee, staff member, and individual agent. So 2A as per ORS 192-660-2A. Yeah.
Some vacation too.
Oh, he's a custodian.
Okay.
He's the other thing that I wanted to share is that with Jeremy and Eric leaving us, we're gonna, and it looks like classified bargaining is gonna continue. We're gonna need people eventually, so let me know. And then I forwarded it to you, didn't I? No, did I forward you the draft of the board goals that? Okay, so I didn't. So I just asked Natalie to print these for you guys. I know that Jeremy, you won't be here for that, but I would appreciate any feedback you want to send my way before we adopt these, but we'll talk about these at a future board meeting and actually adopt them. But these are a draft of the goal and action steps that Janet drafted for us based on our work session with her. And the priorities and things that we had selected based on our survey. So take a look at those and we'll talk a little bit about the future. And yeah, I'll ask Eric as well to give me his input before he leaves.
We do have something.
Crazy.
I will just.
I think you're.
I will just tell you that I would echo a lot of Michael's comments. I think that having diversion opinions on the board is really important. Because it makes everybody a better board member. So I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
You better open, because everyone's be curious what's inside, so you better open.
Yeah, just no pressure here, like open gifts and
Pressure.
and
Yeah. To make it even harder. I read all these later. Thank you guys so much. 2 years ago, when I started on this journey, I got elected into this thing, not elected, appointed into this thing. I came not knowing not knowing hardly anything about a school board, I'd never been on a school board before, never even been in a school board meeting. Had a lot of opinions about school. And over the 2 years, a lot of those opinions actually changed. Because it takes a little education, and I would encourage everybody that's maybe gonna listen to this thing to do the same and put their biases aside and get involved, and it will probably change your mind about things. All of you have helped that, so that's really good. The inside.
It's a trick back.
The old trick.
Well, you are so skilled at time. You are so thoughtful. Like, I love, always enjoy the questions you would ask, and I'm like, oh, yes, good question. So thank you, because like Bob said, your perspective.
Oh, man. That is so cool. Oh. Thank you guys.
We're high school.
Must be Mr. Long's on it, yeah, that's so cool. So cool. Yeah, thank you guys. Suggestions and comments?
Yeah.
Man. I have really appreciated everybody on board, Bob, Natalie, everybody. It's been an awesome experience. I'm going on to do taking a hard right turn to do some other things, particularly at my church. So maybe going into maybe a 3-year program there, which would leave me with no family probably if I was to try and do this and that at the same time. So it's not like I'm leaving because I, am angry or upset or anything like that. It's just our right turns. Anyway, thank you so much for everybody. And again, the whole idea is that everybody comes with different backgrounds and experiences and can just throw that little tidbit in there and go, oh, I didn't think about that, or I didn't think about this. And I'm really hoping that the 2 new people that we get on the board will have, again, diverse backgrounds, we'll be able to do that and keep the ship going downriver. So thank you all very much for everything. Thank you.
Any other comments or suggestions from?
I really appreciated everybody that came today and gave input, and I think we just really do need to look into what's going on. I just think that's really important, and so I think we need to gather more information and see really look at it from a solution-oriented perspective of, how can we best meet the needs of our students and our staff. And Natalie, you'll be missed, so, and Jen, thank you, and Eric will also be missed.
Yeah.
We didn't get to do it. We'll see him around town.
Yes.
We'll see you too.
Yes, you will.
No, I think everyone said everything I was gonna say, so I'm a little bit of a loss. No, this has been a great year, and I can't believe it's almost at the end, and do this all over again. Thank you to everyone. I mean, like, this was a lot in one meeting.
Look, we still did it, and they're pretty good.
Still did it.
We still did it. Time efficiency. Okay.
I'll maybe sit in the chairs right there. Public participation.
I get 3 minutes.
Oh, like the 10 minutes.
Can't wait. All right, that meeting is adjourned at 8:04. Thank you, everybody.